I'd like to tell you the retirement party was nice. The American Legion Hall, 40 coworkers and church folks, a brass plaque with my name on it. Ray Coleman, 40 years at Hoosier Manufacturing. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Coffee tasted like dishwater. Linda stood beside me in that blue dress, smiling with her mouth but not her eyes, tapping her wine glass with her ring, my grandmother's ring. "I have one more surprise," she said. The room went quiet. She pulled an envelope from her purse, handed it to me in front of 50 people. Divorce papers. My son Derek started clapping, slow at first, then faster. Ashley joined in. A few people laughed, nervous-like, not sure if it was a joke. It wasn't. I stood there holding that plaque in one hand and the end of my marriage in the other. And I'll tell you, that was only the beginning of how far I had to fall before I learned what a man's really worth. I don't remember walking to my truck. Don't remember the drive home, neither. Next thing I knew, I was sitting in my driveway, November cold, seeping through the door seals, staring at the house I'd lived in for 38 years. The porch light was on. Linda's car sat right where it always did. I got out, walked up the steps, built that deck myself, replaced every board when they started to rot, and put my key in the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. Wrong angle? Maybe. Needed to jiggle it sometimes. Still nothing. She'd changed the locks while I was at the party. While I was getting a plaque for 40 years of getting up at 5 in the morning and coming home smelling like machine oil and doing every damn thing I was supposed to do, I sat down on those porch steps, that plaque still in my hand, and I couldn't feel my fingers. Not from cold, just couldn't feel anything. Across the street, Hank Porter's porch light came on. He's 70, been my neighbor 18 years, lost his wife Doreen to cancer 3 years back. I watched him open his door, stand there a minute, in his cardigan and slippers, then walk across the street like he had all the time in the world. "Spare rooms made up," he said. That was it. No questions, no what happened, or you okay, or any of that. Just spare rooms made up. I followed him across the street because I didn't know what else to do. The spare room smelled like Vicks Vapor Rub and old wood. Hank's late wife used to keep it ready for their son, who never visited. Single bed, one dresser, window that looked out at my house, my locked house. "You need anything?" Hank asked from the doorway. I had one duffel bag. Packed it that morning for the party, in case Linda wanted to stay at a hotel after, make a night of it. Thought maybe she'd plan something nice. 40 years, ought to mean something. "I'm good," I said. Hank nodded. "Coffee's at 6. Made the way God intended, strong and bitter." He closed the door. I heard him shuffling down the hall, heard his own door close, heard the house settle into its nighttime creaks. Outside, the wind picked up. November in Indiana. Be cold soon. Be ice before Christmas. I unpacked that duffel bag. Work shirts, the good pants, socks, razor, 40 years, and it fit in one bag. I didn't sleep. Heard Hank moving around after midnight. Both of us pretending to sleep, neither one fooling the other. That's how men are when things go sideways. You don't talk about it. You just sit in it together. Morning came whether I wanted it or not. Hank's coffee tasted like punishment, but I drank it. We sat at his kitchen table, with the newspaper between us, not saying much. The weather forecast said cold front coming, snow by the weekend. At 3 o'clock, the factory whistle blew. Shift change. I'd heard that whistle every day for 40 years. Knew what it meant down in my bones. Time to go. Time to come home. Time to keep moving because the line never stops. I flinched when it blew. Actually flinched, like it was calling me, and I wasn't there to answer. "You don't work there no more," Hank said, not looking up from the paper. "I know. Then why'd you jump?" I didn't have an answer for that. Sunday morning, I drove to church. Parked in my usual spot, third row back, driver's side. Sat there in the truck, watching people go in. Mrs. Chen from the post office. The Hendersons, Pastor Jim, people I'd known 20, 30 years. People who'd been at that party. I couldn't make myself get out of the truck. Couldn't walk in there and have them all look at me, knowing what they knew. Knowing what my own son had done. After 30 minutes, I drove back to Hank's. At the grocery store Tuesday, I needed milk and bread. Basic things. Walked in, and the conversations didn't stop exactly, but they paused. That half beat where heads turn, eyes flick over, then people try too hard to act normal. Cindy at the checkout wouldn't meet my eyes, just scanned my items, told me the total. I left a good tip anyway. Don't know why. Habit, maybe. When I got back, Hank was on his porch despite the cold, that old dog of his, Scout, sleeping at his feet. I sat down in the other chair. We didn't talk for a while. Just sat there while the temperature dropped and the light faded, and somewhere across town, that factory whistle blew again. "Ray," Hank said finally, "you planning to hide, or you planning to fight?" I looked at him. Looked at my house across the street with the lights on, and Linda inside, warm and comfortable like nothing had changed. "I don't know," I said, and that was the honest truth. 3 days after I moved into Hank's spare room, my phone rang. Ashley's name on the screen. My daughter. My middle child. The one who used to bring me drawings from kindergarten, who'd sit on my lap during Sunday cartoons. I almost didn't answer. But you don't stop being a father just because your kids stop acting like children. Dad? Her voice was thick, like she'd been crying. Dad, I'm so sorry. I sat down on Hank's couch. Scout lifted his head, then went back to sleep. Ashley? No, please, just listen. What Mom did at the party, that went too far. I told her. I said it was cruel. Something in my chest loosened. Just a little. Just enough to hurt worse. She won't talk to me now, Ashley said. But I can't just pretend it's okay. You're my father. I want to... Can we meet? Just talk? I need you to know I didn't want it to happen like that. I looked across the room at Hank. He was at the kitchen table, newspaper open, but I knew he was listening. He shook his head, just once. Small movement. Where? I said. The diner on Main Street, 1 o'clock. I got there early, sat in a booth by the window where I could see the parking lot. The Formica table was cold under my forearms. Smelled like burnt hash browns and old coffee. Cindy was working, same as always. She brought me coffee without asking. Still wouldn't quite meet my eyes. Ashley pulled up in her Honda, the one I'd co-signed for 3 years back when Trevor lost his first job. She sat in the car a minute, checking her face in the mirror. Then she came in, and I'll be damned if she didn't have tissues in her hand already. She slid into the booth across from me. Her eyes were red, makeup smudged just right. Daddy, she said. She hadn't called me that since she was 12. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. You're my daughter, I said. That made her cry harder, or seemed to. She dabbed at her eyes with the tissue, careful not to smudge more. I've been thinking about this nonstop, she said. About what this is doing to the family, to everyone. Mom's so angry right now, and Derek's caught in the middle, and I want us to heal, to move forward. Ashley, I know it's complicated, the legal stuff, the house, all of that, but maybe if we could just simplify things, make it smoother, less painful for everyone. She reached into her purse, not for another tissue, for papers. She slid them across the table, already unfolded, already marked with little yellow tabs where I was supposed to sign. What's this? But I knew. Something in my gut knew. It's just a formality, a quick claim on the house and some pension restructuring. My friend in legal drew them up. It makes the divorce smoother, less contentious. Everyone gets what they need, and we can start healing. I picked up the papers, read the first page, then the second. Ashley, this signs away the house. This gives your mother 60% of my pension. Well, you'll still have plenty. This puts me on the street. That's not... Dad, you're being dramatic. You'd still have your share. And Mom needs security. She gave you 40 years. Trevor and I, we've got the kids to think about, and Derek's got expenses. I'm not signing this. The tears stopped. Not gradual, just stopped, like turning off a faucet. She sat there a moment, perfectly still, and I watched my daughter's face rearrange itself into something I didn't recognize. You're being selfish, she said. Mom sacrificed everything for this family. Everything. And you can't even do this one thing to make it easier? I built that house. I worked double shifts so you could go to college. And we're grateful. But that doesn't mean you get to hold the rest of us hostage, because you can't accept that your marriage is over. She grabbed the papers, shoved them back in her purse. The tissues went in after. She stood up, and I saw it then. The purse already had a pen clipped to the side, papers already drawn up. She'd come here with everything ready. If you won't do this the easy way, she said, then we do it the hard way, your choice. She walked out, got in that Honda I'd co-signed for, and drove away. I sat there in that booth, coffee going cold in front of me. Cindy came by, refilled it without a word. Someone had left a country station playing low. George Strait singing about lost love like it was simple, like it was clean. I left a $5 tip on a $3 coffee and walked out to my truck. Sat there in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I could get my hands steady enough to turn the key. When I got back to Hank's, he was on the porch despite the cold. Scout beside him, breathing heavy the way old dogs do. How'd it go? Hank asked. She had the papers already printed, I said. Drew them up before she even called. Practice the crying, I bet. Practice that daddy voice. Hank was quiet for a minute. Then, Ray, if Ashley planned that far ahead, who helped her plan it? I looked at my house. Linda's car in the driveway, Derek's BMW parked behind it. Both of them in there together, warm and comfortable, probably laughing about something while I sat here with my life in one duffel bag. I don't know, I said, but I'm going to find out. The wind picked up, rattling the bare branches. Forecast said snow by the weekend. Storm coming? I figured that was about right. Tuesday morning, I needed to open a new account, start over. You can't live on Hank's charity forever, and my severance package from the factory was supposed to direct deposit Friday. Had to put it somewhere Linda couldn't touch. The bank on 4th Street, same one we'd used for 30 years. I walked in, trying not to think about how many times Linda and I had come here together, car loans, mortgage refinancing. The account we opened when Ashley was born. Margaret Torres was at the counter. Known her maybe 15 years since her boy Miguel got hurt in that car accident, left him with a limp. Nobody wanted to hire him after. I got him a spot on my line at the factory. He worked there 8 years before moving to Nashville to play music. When Margaret saw me, her face changed. Not pity exactly, something else. "Ray," she said, "can you come to my office? I just need to open a checking account. Please." She glanced at the other tellers. "It's important." Her office smelled like artificial flowers and Diet Coke. She closed the door, pulled the blinds. That's when I knew something was wrong. Margaret's professional. She doesn't close blinds for routine banking. "I could get fired for this," she said. She slid a folder across her desk, hands shaking slightly. "But I can't watch you get robbed blind and not say something. You helped Miguel when nobody else would." And I opened the folder, bank statements. Our joint savings account, the one Linda always handled because she was better with money. I looked at the numbers, and at first they didn't make sense. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. 6 months of withdrawals, all to a new account, an account with only Linda's name on it, $47,000. "Ray, those signatures authorizing the transfers?" Margaret pulled out photocopies, laid them next to each other. "That's not your handwriting. I've seen you sign documents for 20 years. This isn't even close." She was right. The signatures were too neat, too practiced. I signed my name fast, sloppy, always have. These looked like someone had traced my signature, tried to copy it perfect. "There's more," Margaret said. Her voice was quiet, careful, like she was telling someone their dog died. She showed me beneficiary change forms for my life insurance, dated 2 weeks before the retirement party. Showed me pension redirect requests that had been filed with the factory, attempts to change where my monthly payments would go after I retired. "The pension ones didn't go through," she said. "Company policy requires in-person verification for changes over a certain amount. But Ray, she tried to redirect everything." I looked at the dates. April. Everything started in April. "When did you set your retirement date?" Margaret asked. "April 15th. My voice didn't sound like mine. "That's when I told Linda I was retiring in November." Margaret nodded. "The first withdrawal was April 18th, 3 days later. The room felt too small, too hot. I couldn't get enough air." "How much total?" I asked. "Gone from your joint account? $47,000. If she'd succeeded with the pension and insurance?" Margaret paused. "Everything, Ray." She was trying to take everything. I sat there holding those papers, my hands shaking so bad I couldn't keep them steady. 40 years. 40 years of getting up before dawn, of overtime shifts when the kids needed braces, of every penny saved and every promise kept. She'd started stealing it the moment she knew I was retiring, the moment I stopped being useful. "What do I do?" I asked. "Get a lawyer," Margaret said. "This is fraud. Forgery. This isn't divorce, Ray. This is theft." She made photocopies of everything. Technically illegal, probably. She did it anyway, hands moving quick and efficient, that copy machine humming in the corner. "Why?" I asked. "Why risk your job for this?" "Because Miguel's playing the Bluebird Cafe next month. Has a recording contract. None of that happens if you don't give him a chance when everybody else said no." She handed me the folder. "Some debts don't show up on paper." I sat in my truck in the bank parking lot for a long time. Just sat there with that folder on the passenger seat staring at nothing. $47,000. I did the math. 40 years times 52 weeks times 50 hours average with overtime. 104,000 hours. Started at $8 an hour, ended at 32. Every dollar in that account represented my body, my aching back, my damaged hearing, the surgery scar from when I lifted wrong, and something tore. She didn't steal $47,000. She stole 1,500 hours of my life, 1,500 hours of sweat and pain and showing up when I was tired, when I hurt, when I wanted to quit. And she did it with a pen, just signed my name and erased me. I started the truck. Didn't go back to Hank's, not yet. I drove past the house instead, my house. The one I'd built half the back deck on when Ashley was little. The one I'd painted every 5 years and re-roofed after that hailstorm in '09. Lights on. Linda's car in the driveway. Derek's BMW parked beside it. They were in there right now, warm, comfortable, probably planning what to spend next. I sat there across the street with the engine running and the heat on, and I thought about what Margaret had said. This isn't divorce. This is theft. My phone buzzed. Text from Ashley. "Dad, have you thought about what I said? We need to move forward." I turned off the phone. $47,000. She didn't just leave me. She tried to erase me. When I got back to Hank's, he was at the kitchen table with the yellow pages open, pen in hand. Phone books thick as a brick in a town this small, lawyers mixed in with everything else. Most of them want $5,000 up front, he said without looking up. Retainer, they call it. Fancy word for pay me before I do anything. I set the folder from Margaret on the table. She took $47,000. Started the day I told her I was retiring. Hank flipped through the pages. Didn't say anything for a while? Just studied those bank statements like they were a puzzle he was working out. That's fraud, he said finally. That's what Margaret said. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Too tired for whatever sales pitch or survey wanted my time. But something made me pick up. Ray? Woman's voice. Older. This is Diane, Linda's sister. I barely knew Diane. Met her maybe 3 times in 40 years. Linda always said her sister was difficult, that they didn't get along. Family drama I never asked about. How'd you get this number? Church directory. I heard about the divorce. She paused. I need to tell you something. Hank was watching me now. I put the phone on speaker. Linda did this before, Diane said. Her first husband, Tom Patterson. They were married 9 years. She took half his business, claimed emotional abandonment, made him out to be this cold, distant man who ignored her. I didn't know she was married before. She doesn't talk about it. Divorced him when she was 35, walked away with enough money to buy that house you've been living in. I tried to warn you when you two got engaged. Linda cut me out of her life for 5 years after that. Said I was jealous, said I was trying to ruin her happiness. My hands were shaking. I set the phone on the table. You're the second one, Ray, Diane said. Her voice was gentle, sad, and I'm betting there'll be a third someday. She doesn't change. She finds someone who will provide, who'll work hard, who'll be too decent to see it coming. Then when she's ready, she takes what she wants and moves on. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm 63 years old and tired of watching her hurt people. And because if you need someone to testify about her pattern, I will. I've got documents from Tom's divorce. She used the same lawyer she's using now. After she hung up, Hank and I sat there in the quiet. His old dog Scout wheezed in the corner, dreaming whatever old dogs dream. You're not the problem, Hank said. I know. Do you? Because you've been walking around here like a man who thinks he deserved this. I didn't have an answer for that. 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Derek's name. I stared at it a long time before I answered. Dad? His voice was slurred. Bar noise in the background. Pool balls cracking. Someone laughing. Dad, This got out of hand. Derek, Mom said it'd be simple. Quick. She said you'd understand, that you'd want her to be taken care of. That's what she said. He'll understand. Where are you? I needed the money, Dad. I needed it. Ashley keeps pushing, saying we have to stick together, family unity, all that. And he stopped, swallowed. I'm sorry. I don't know. Don't call me back. The line went dead. I played it again, then again. Trying to hear something in my son's voice that told me he was still in there somewhere. That the boy who used to bring me beers while I worked on the deck, who fell asleep on my shoulder during car rides, that he wasn't completely gone. Hank's door opened. He'd heard the phone. You okay? He asked. I played him the voicemail. He's weak, Hank said after. Weak isn't the same as evil, but Ray, it still hurts you just as bad. He's my son. That's why it hurts. What? We sat there in the dark kitchen, and I wanted to say something about how you don't stop being a father, about how you don't give up on your kids no matter what, but the words wouldn't come. Should I call him back? I asked. What would you say? I didn't have an answer for that either. Thursday afternoon, Hank's late wife's sister showed up, Carol, 65, chain-smoking parliaments, legal pad in one hand, and a pen that clicked every few seconds. She'd been a paralegal for 40 years before she retired. Hank says you need help, she said, sitting down at the kitchen table without waiting to be asked. Show me what you got. I gave her Margaret's folder, the bank statements, the forged signatures, Diane's phone number. Carol worked fast, made notes, asked questions, organized everything into a timeline. Click, click, click with that pen. Linda made 3 mistakes, she said finally. Got greedy, moved too fast, and underestimated your friends. She tapped her pen on the papers. These forged signatures, that's criminal fraud, not just civil divorce. We can countersue, demand forensic accounting, make her life very expensive. How long does that take? Building a case like this? 4 to 6 months, minimum, maybe longer. Ray, can you wait that long? I thought about that duffel bag in Hank's spare room. Still hadn't really unpacked. living out of it like I was temporary. I've got time, I said. That's about all I got. You've got more than that. Carol stubbed out her cigarette, immediately lit another. You've got evidence. You've got witnesses. And you've got me. Linda Coleman thinks she's smart. We're about to show her what smart actually looks like. She packed up her legal pad, stood to leave. Ray, one question before I go, she said. What do you want from this? Your house back? Your money? Your reputation? What matters most? I opened my mouth, closed it. Think about it, Carol said. When you know, call me. Can't fight a war if you don't know what you're fighting for. After she left, I sat there with Hank. The question hanging in the air like smoke. What did I want? The house? The money? To prove I wasn't worthless? I didn't know. And that scared me more than anything else so far. New Year's Eve, Hank and I didn't celebrate. Didn't even mention it. Just turned the TV off at 10 and went to bed like it was any other night. When midnight came, I heard fireworks somewhere across town. Couple pops, nothing special. And then silence. January 1st, the thermometer on Hank's porch read 15 degrees. I started checking it every morning. Don't know why. Gave me something to do, I guess. Some number to measure against. 15 degrees. Then 12, then 9. The lawyer Carol found me, paid for by Hank, who wouldn't hear any argument about paying him back, called on January 3rd. Building a case like this takes time, he said. His name was Foster. Talked like he'd done this before. We're looking at 4 months minimum, maybe 6. Discovery, depositions, forensic accounting. It's a process. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Good. Because Ray, this is the hard part. The waiting, the not knowing. People give up in this phase, don't. After I hung up, I sat on Hank's couch and looked at the calendar on his wall. January through June, maybe longer. Half a year of living in his spare room. Half a year of watching my house across the street with Linda in it. Half a year of being the guy people whispered about at church. I tried going back to Sunday service on January 8th. Sat in the parking lot for 40 minutes. Couldn't do it. Drove back to Hank's. The grocery store was worse. Had to go. Couldn't live on Hank's food forever. But every trip felt like running a gauntlet. Mrs. Henderson near the produce, pretending she didn't see me. Tom Jarvis by the meat counter, giving me that sympathetic nod that's somehow worse than ignoring. I started going at 6 in the morning when the store first opened. Fewer people that way. The cold got meaner. Single digits became normal. The weatherman on Channel 7, young guy with too much hair gel, kept saying, coldest January since 1994. Like that mattered. Like knowing it was record-breaking made it hurt less. Every morning I filled the bird feeder on Hank's back porch. Cardinals mostly. A few blue jays. They'd fight over the seed, these bright spots of color against all that gray and white. I don't know why I kept filling it. Just seemed important, something alive, depending on something I did. Hank never said anything about it, but I noticed he'd bought more seed than usual. At 3 o'clock every afternoon, the factory whistle blew. By mid-January, I'd stopped flinching. Just sat there on the porch, even when it was too cold to be outside, and listened to it fade. That sound used to mean something. Used to mean I had a place, a purpose, a reason to get up. Now it was just noise. The ice storm hit on January 19th. Forecast said 36 to 48 hours of freezing rain. They weren't wrong. Hank and I prepared like we were going to war. Firewood stacked on the porch, batteries for the flashlights, candles, water in the bathtub in case the pipes froze, canned soup and bread that wouldn't spoil. Ought to bring your stuff in from the truck, Hank said. Battery might not make it through this. My truck. Still had everything in it I'd need if I had to leave fast. Jumper cables, sleeping bag, go bag mentality, I guess. Like any day I might have to run. But I brought it all in. Set it by the door in Hank's mudroom. The ice started around 7 that evening. Didn't look like much at first, just rain. But you could hear it. That particular sound of water hitting cold ground and staying. Building, layer by layer. By midnight, the power lines were sagging under the weight. By 3 in the morning, they started snapping. The power went out with a sound like a sigh. The heater cutting off, the refrigerator's hum dying, everything going dark and silent at once. Hank was up before I was. Already had the wood stove going in the living room. Might be out a few days, he said. We settled in. No TV, no internet, no phone charging. Just 2 men, 1 old dog, and a wood stove that barely kept the temperature above 50 degrees. The ice kept coming. You could hear it. Trees cracking under the weight. Power lines going down somewhere in the distance. That constant tap, tap, tap against the windows like the world was trying to get in. Second night, we were sitting by the wood stove, wrapped in sleeping bags. Scout between us wheezing in his sleep, and Hank started talking. Vietnam, he said. Tet offensive. We were pinned down outside Hue for 6 days. No resupply, no extraction. Just cold. Not like this, but cold for there. And waiting. I'd known Hank was a vet. He never talked about it. 5th day, Kid next to me says he's done. Just done. Wants to walk out, surrender, something. Anything, but sit there waiting to die. Hank added another log to the fire. I told him what my sergeant told me. Sometimes you survive by not quitting. That's it. No plan, no strategy, just refusing to stop. What happened to him? The kid? Walked out on day 6. Got shot before he made it 10 yards. Hank was quiet for a while. Sometimes not quitting's all you got. Sometimes it ain't enough, but it's all you got. I pulled the sleeping bag tighter. What if I don't have not quitting left? Hank didn't answer, just added wood to the fire and let the question sit. The power came back on the 3rd day. That hum of electricity returning, the heater kicking on, the refrigerator starting up like the world was waking up again. I took a shower. First hot water in 60 hours, stood under it until the tank ran cold. But something felt different. Wrong. Like I'd survived something but wasn't sure why I'd bothered. The lawyer called that afternoon. 4 more months minimum. Forensic accountant needs time. Discovery's slow. Ray, I need you to be patient. And 4 more months. 4 more months of this spare room, this borrowed life, this waiting for permission to exist again. I looked around Hank's house. My duffel bag, in the corner of the spare room, still packed like I might leave any day. But where would I go? Week after the ice storm, the thermometer read 9 degrees, and I sat on Hank's porch checking it like always. Factory whistle blew at 3. I barely registered it anymore. I thought about Linda in my house. Warm, comfortable. The house I'd built half the deck on. The house I'd re-roofed. The house that was mine, in every way that mattered except legally. I looked at Derek's Facebook, don't know why, just did, and he'd posted vacation photos. Some beach, palm trees, his girlfriend in a bikini, comments from friends, living the dream, and so jealous. And living the dream on money he'd helped his mother steal. I sat there with my truck keys in my pocket. Could drive to the lawyer's office right now, sign whatever Ashley had wanted me to sign. Give them the house, the pension, all of it. End this. The keys were cold against my leg through the denim. Scout pushed the door open with his nose. Hank never latched it all the way, and limped onto the porch. Old dog, half blind, some kind of arthritis that made him walk crooked. But he came out anyway, sat down next to my boots. I scratched his ears. What are you doing out here, old man? It's cold. Scout just sat there, breathing hard, looking at nothing in particular. 14 years old, Hank had said. Most dogs that age were dead. Scout just kept showing up. I kept the keys in my pocket. Didn't start the truck, didn't drive anywhere. Just sat there with an old dog while the temperature dropped and the light faded, and somewhere in the distance, that factory whistle blew again for the 6 o'clock shift change. When I finally went inside, Hank was at the stove making coffee. Still that terrible burn taste. Still better than nothing. You staying? He asked. Didn't turn around, just asked. I don't know, I said. Where else would I go? That's not what I asked. I sat down at the table, wrapped my hands around the coffee cup for warmth, even though it burned. Then I don't know how to answer, I said. Hank finally turned around, looked at me for a long moment. Then he slid the sugar bowl across the table, something he never did, preferred his coffee black and mean, and said, then stay. Not a question, not a command, just a statement. I put sugar in my coffee for the first time in 20 years. It still tasted awful, but I drank it anyway. Outside, the temperature kept dropping. Forecast said more ice coming, more cold, more of this endless gray winter that felt like it would never end. But Scout was wheezing in the corner. The birds would need feeding in the morning. And Hank's coffee, terrible as it was warm. I hadn't decided to fight, but I hadn't decided to quit either. And for now, in the coldest January southern Indiana had seen since 1994, that was going to have to be enough. Sunday morning, middle of January, I was staring at oatmeal I couldn't eat. 3rd bowl that week, kept making it, kept not being able to swallow it. Food tasted like cardboard. Everything did. Hank sat down across from me. Didn't say good morning. Didn't pour coffee first. Just slid a folder across the table. Carol finished, he said. Took 3 weeks. I opened it. Inside, everything was organized. Timeline, bank records, credit card statements, all of it laid out like a map of my dismantling. But there was more. Cash withdrawals from Linda's new account, the one with my stolen money, matched exactly with Ashley's car, payment dates. With Derek's rent, with purchases at stores I'd never been to, restaurants I'd never heard of, and there, stapled to the back, a hotel receipt. Holiday Inn, Indianapolis, April 16th. Room registered to Ashley Coleman Brennan. Same date as a charge at Morton's Steakhouse. Dinner for 3, $347. Same date, Linda's lawyer filed the initial divorce paperwork. Ashley had flown in. Met with Linda and the lawyer 6 months before that retirement party. 6 months before she stood there in that American Legion hall and clapped while her mother handed me divorce papers in front of 50 people. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't emotional. It was calculated. She planned this, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. The day I told Linda I was retiring, she started planning. And Ashley helped, Hank said. Wasn't just along for the ride, she organized it. I flipped through the pages. Numbers and dates and proof, evidence of a conspiracy, of my own daughter, the one I'd worked double shifts to put through college, plotting how to take everything from me. Question is, Hank said, what are you going to do about it? I looked up at him. This man who'd taken me in when I had nowhere to go, who made terrible coffee every morning and never once made me feel like a burden, who'd paid for my lawyer out of his own pocket and called in favors from his late wife's family. I'm going to fight, I said. The words came out clear, strong. First time in weeks I'd said something and meant it all the way down. Hank nodded. Good. Then let's fight smart. Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Oregon number. I stared at it, trying to place it. Then I remembered. Emily, my youngest. The one who'd left 5 years ago and barely called. The one Linda always said had forgotten about us, gotten too big for her raising. I almost didn't answer. What would I even say to her? But I picked up. Dad? Her voice. Jesus, I'd forgotten what she sounded like. Dad, it's Emily. I know. I heard. About the divorce. Justin, you remember cousin Justin? He posted something on Facebook. I tried calling the house, but Mom wouldn't put you on. I'm not at the house. Silence for a second. Where are you? Neighbor's place. It's temporary. Dad, I'm coming home. I sat down. Emily, you don't need to. I'm already packing. I'll leave tomorrow. I can be there in 3 days if the weather holds. Maybe 4? It's January. It's 2,000 miles. There's ice storms. I don't care. Her voice was fierce. Reminded me of her at 12, arguing about something she believed in. I should have come back years ago. I should have... Dad, Mom's been lying to you. About me. About everything. My chest tightened. What do you mean? I'll explain when I get there. I have letters, evidence, proof of what she's been doing. She stopped. I could hear her breathing. Just wait for me, okay? Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. Wait for me. Emily, I love you, Dad. I never stopped. No matter what she told you. The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, and for the first time since that retirement party, I felt something besides numb, felt something besides hollow. Hank came in from the garage, saw my face. Your youngest? He asked. I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. She coming home? Yeah, I managed. Says she's got evidence. Says Linda's been lying for years. Hank poured himself coffee, sat down. You believe her? I don't know what to believe anymore. I set the phone on the table. But she's driving 2,000 miles in January. That's got to mean something. That means she loves you, Hank said. Question is, what's she bringing? Carol came by Wednesday with her legal pad and cigarettes, bringing news and strategy. Filed the countersuit yesterday, she said, clicking her pen. Fraud, forgery, theft. Linda's lawyer called this morning, all bluster and threats. I told him to save it for the mediator. Mediator? Court-ordered mediation before trial. Standard in divorce cases. Gets scheduled in about 3 weeks, February 14th. Valentine's Day, I said. Carol's mouth twitched. Ironic, right? Love's holiday for people who don't love each other anymore. She shuffled papers. Here's the strategy. We present evidence chronologically. Show the planning, the theft, the forgery. Margaret's affidavits about the signatures. Diane's testimony about Linda's pattern with the first husband. Financial forensics showing where the money went. What about Emily? Carol looked up. Your youngest? She's part of this? She called yesterday. Says she's got evidence. Letters or something. She's driving in from Oregon. Carol's pen stopped clicking. Linda doesn't know that, does she? That Emily's involved? Don't think so. Good. Carol made a note. That's our ace. We build the case piece by piece. Then Emily comes in at the end with whatever she's got. Shock and awe. She looked at me. Ray, is your daughter reliable? Is she going to show up? I thought about Emily at 8 years old, bringing me iced tea while I worked on the deck. Emily, at 16, the only one who asked me about work, who actually listened. Emily at 23, telling Linda she was moving to Oregon for a job, and Linda's face going cold in a way I didn't understand at the time. She'll show up, I said. The next days dragged and flew at the same time. Carolyn Foster, my lawyer, working on the case, papers filed, motions submitted. Linda served with everything. Through Hank, I heard she'd panicked. Called Derek in the middle of the night. Called Ashley 3 times in one day. Good, Carol said when I told her. Panic makes people stupid. Let her sweat. Friday evening, my phone pinged. Text from Emily. A photo? Her Oregon license plate covered in road salt and snow. Caption. Nebraska's still coming. See you soon, Dad. I showed it to Hank. That girl drove 1,200 miles already, he said. In January, through ice. She always was stubborn. Wonder where she got that. I looked at the photo again, that beat-up Subaru. My daughter driving through storms and cold because I needed her. Because she loved me enough to drop everything and come home. Saturday afternoon, another text. Iowa. Road's bad, but I'm okay. Tomorrow, Dad. I'll be there tomorrow. I cleaned the spare room. Made the bed with fresh sheets. Moved my stuff to the couch. Emily could have the bed. I'd be fine on the couch. Hank helped without saying anything about it. You nervous? He asked while we were straightening up. Terrified, I admitted. What if she gets there and decides I'm not worth it? What if Linda's been telling the truth and Emily really did just forget about me, and she's only coming back now because she heard I might have money again? Hank stopped what he was doing, looked at me straight. Ray, that girl's been driving for 3 days through the worst winter we've had in 30 years. If she wanted your money, she'd wait till it was warm and fly. He went back to tucking the sheet. She's coming for you, not your money, you. Sunday morning, I watched out the window. Every car that passed, I thought might be her. At 11:15, a Subaru with Oregon plates came down the street. My daughter was home. The Subaru pulled into Hank's driveway at 11:17 on a Sunday morning. Late January sun doing nothing to warm the day. I was on the porch, had been since dawn, pretending I wasn't waiting. The driver's door opened, and Emily stepped out. 28 years old now. I'd missed 5 of them. She looked tired, 3 days of driving tired, with her hair pulled back and wearing a Carhartt jacket that looked like something I would have worn 20 years ago. She looked up at the porch, saw me, and her face just crumpled. Dad, she said, and started crying right there in the driveway. I was down those steps before I knew I was moving. Pulled her into a hug, and she was shaking. Or I was shaking, both of us probably. I'm sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry. I should have come back sooner. I should have. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. We stood there in Hank's driveway, holding on to each other, while the cold wind cut through our jackets and a car drove past, and probably people were watching. And I didn't care. My daughter was home. Hank appeared in the doorway. Coffee's on. Come inside before you both freeze. The kitchen was warm, smelled like that burned coffee and something Hank was cooking on the stove. Scout limped over to investigate Emily, sniffed her boots, and decided she was acceptable. Laid down at her feet. I thought you hated dogs, I said. Emily used to be scared of them when she was little. I got over it. She scratched Scout's ears. Dad, we need to talk. There's things you don't know, things Mom... She stopped, looked at Hank. He knows everything, I said. He's been helping me. Him and his late wife's sister Carol, they're building the case. Emily nodded, reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope, worn at the edges. Addressed to me in handwriting I recognized, hers from years ago. The return address said Portland, Oregon, postmarked 5 years back. Did you get this letter? She asked. I took it, turned it over. No. I know. Her voice was quiet, careful. Mom intercepted it. I found proof in her email when I hacked her account last year. I needed to know why you stopped talking to me. Emily, I never stopped. Let me show you. She pulled out her phone, opened a folder, handed it to me. Read the letter first, then look at these. I opened the envelope. The paper inside was college-ruled, torn from a notebook, her handwriting from 5 years ago, neater than now, more careful. Dad, I can't stay here anymore. I can't watch what's happening and pretend it's okay. Mom's been changing. Or maybe she's always been like this and I just didn't see it until now. The way she talks about you when you're at work. The way she's turning Derek and Ashley into something mean. You're not the problem. You've never been the problem. You're the only one who still treats people like they matter. You're the only one who asks me how I'm doing and actually listens. I'm moving to Oregon. There's a social work position there, and I need distance from this family. But Dad, please call me. Please visit. Don't go through Mom to reach me. She'll twist it. She always does. I love you. I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving her. Emily, my hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the paper. I read it 3 times, trying to understand. You wrote this 5 years ago? And mailed it to the house. Priority mail. You should have gotten it in 3 days. Emily's voice was breaking. I waited a week, then 2, then a month. You never responded. So I emailed you. She took her phone back, pulled up a folder, showed me emails, her messages to my address, long, heartfelt, asking if I got the letter, asking if I was okay, begging me to call her. And the responses, short, cold, you made your choice. Don't contact me again. I have nothing to say to you. You're not welcome here. I never wrote these, I said. Emily, I know that now. Tears were running down her face. But I didn't know then. I thought you hated me. Thought I'd abandoned you and you couldn't forgive me. How do you know I didn't write them? She pulled up another screen. Email logs. Account activity. Timestamps showing the emails were sent from the house in the middle of the day, when I would have been at work, when Linda was home alone. She had your passwords, Emily said. She wrote those emails, pretending to be you. She made sure we stayed apart. Made sure I couldn't warn you about what she was planning. Hank had been standing by the stove, quiet. Now he sat down at the table. That's psychological abuse, he said. Documented. With timestamps and IP addresses. There's more. Emily pulled out printed pages, screenshots, her deleted emails. She wrote to Derek and Ashley telling them I'd abandoned the family, that I was too good for my raising. She poisoned them against me so I couldn't interfere. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. 5 years, I'd thought she'd forgotten me. 5 years, I thought I'd failed her somehow, drove her away with something I'd done or didn't do. And all that time, Linda had been building a wall between us, brick by brick, email by email. I thought you didn't love me anymore, Emily said. I thought you forgot about me. We sat there across Hank's kitchen table, and I finally understood the full scope of what Linda had done. She hadn't just stolen my money. She'd stolen my daughter, stolen 5 years we could have had. Birthdays and holidays and phone calls and visits, gone. All of it. Because she'd needed me isolated. Needed me without allies. Needed me to have nobody who'd see through her plans. How long? I asked. How long has she been planning this divorce? At least 5 years, Emily said. Maybe longer. I saw warning signs before I left. The way she talked about your retirement. The way she'd calculate money when she thought nobody was listening. I tried to tell you in that letter, and I never saw it. Because she made sure you didn't. Hank made us more coffee. We sat there while Emily told me about the last 5 years. Her job at the youth shelter in Portland. The roommate she'd had. The relationships that hadn't worked out. All the things a father should know about his daughter's life. All the things Linda had made sure I missed. Around 2 o'clock, Carol showed up. She took one look at Emily, at the papers spread across the table, and her eyes got sharp. You the daughter? She asked. Emily. They shook hands. Carol sat down, lit a parliament, and went through everything. Read the letter, examined the email logs, made notes on her legal pad with that clicking pen. This is gold, she said finally. Premeditation. Psychological manipulation. A pattern going back years. Linda's lawyer doesn't know you exist, does he? Don't think so, Emily said. Good. We save you for mediation. Build the case piece by piece. The theft, the forgery, Diane's testimony about the first husband. Then you walk in with this. Carol tapped the letter. Shock and awe. When's the mediation? Emily asked. February 14th, 3 weeks. You sticking around? Emily looked at me. If Dad wants me to? Stay, I said. My voice came out rough. Please stay. The next weeks were preparation. Carol and Foster coaching us on what to say, how to present evidence, what questions to expect. Emily stayed in the spare room. I took the couch. Wouldn't hear any argument about it. And for the first time since that retirement party, the house felt like there were people in it, not just bodies taking up space. Small things. Emily making breakfast, though she burned the eggs. Watching old movies at night. Emily introducing me to some bands she liked that I didn't understand, but listened to anyway because she was there, alive, real. Scout decided Emily was his person now. Followed her everywhere. Slept at the foot of her makeshift bed. He never did that with Doreen, Hank said one night. Took him 2 years to even tolerate her. Liked Emily right away. She's got a gift, I said. We'd go over the case at night, Carol drilling Emily on her testimony, making sure she could tell the story without breaking down. Emily was stronger than I'd given her credit for. She'd cry, then wipe her eyes and keep going. I'm not doing this to hurt them, she said one night. Derek and Ashley, I'm doing this to tell the truth. Truth hurts sometimes, Hank said. I know, but it has to be said anyway. The night before the mediation, I couldn't sleep. 3 in the morning, I gave up and went to the porch. February now, but still cold. Thermometer read 22 degrees, warmest it had been in weeks. The door opened behind me. Emily, wrapped in one of Hank's old blankets. Couldn't sleep either, she said, nervous. She sat down in the other chair. We didn't talk for a while, just sat there in the dark while the town slept around us. You scared? She finally asked. Terrified, I admitted. What if we lose? What if the evidence isn't enough? What if, Dad? She reached over, took my hand. We already lost 5 years. Tomorrow we just tell the truth, together. Now, what if the truth isn't enough? Then at least we told it. She squeezed my hand. When did you get so afraid? When I realized I had something worth losing again. She was quiet for a moment. Then, you know what I learned working at the shelter? With kids who've been through hell, sometimes surviving is the victory. Not winning, not getting justice, just surviving and still being able to feel things, still being able to love people. She looked at me. You survived, Dad. You're still here. That's already a victory. Doesn't feel like one. It will tomorrow, after we tell them everything. We sat there until the sky started to lighten. Gray dawn, another cold day coming. But my daughter was beside me, and tomorrow we'd walk into that mediation together, and whatever happened, I wouldn't be alone. That had to count for something. Valentine's Day morning. The irony wasn't lost on anybody. Foster's office was in one of those professional buildings downtown. Third floor, gray carpet, air that smelled like copy machines and cold coffee. The mediation room had a radiator that clanked and hissed, making it too warm, despite the February cold outside. Conference table, squeaky chairs, window overlooking the parking lot where I could see my truck next to Emily's salt-covered Subaru. Carol was already there. Legal pad open, pen clicking. Foster beside her in a suit that looked expensive. Me in the only decent clothes I owned. Khakis and a button-down I'd ironed at Hank's. Remember, Foster said, let us do most of the talking. Stay calm. Don't engage if they provoke you. Emily sat beside me. She'd barely slept. I could see it in her eyes. But her hands were steady when she set her folder on the table. You ready for this? I asked her. No, she said, but we're doing it anyway. Linda's side arrived at 9:15. Her lawyer first, Ralph Morrison, expensive suit, leather briefcase, the kind of confidence that comes from winning more than you lose. Then Linda, wearing a navy dress that probably cost more than my truck payment, hair done like she was going to church, face composed, calm. Then Ashley. My daughter walked in like she was going to a business meeting, tablet in hand, looking professional and put together. She glanced at me, then away. Derek came last. 10 minutes late, wouldn't meet anybody's eyes. Sat down at the far end of the table, like he was trying to disappear into the wall. The mediator was a woman named Patterson, 60 maybe, gray hair, reading glasses, the kind of neutral expression that said she'd seen every kind of divorce ugliness there was, and none of it surprised her anymore. Let's begin, she said. This is court-ordered mediation for Coleman versus Coleman. I'm here to facilitate settlement discussion before this proceeds to trial. Mr. Morrison, you filed first. Would you like to present your client's position? Morrison stood up like he was arguing before the Supreme Court. Thank you. My client, Mrs. Linda Coleman, was married to the respondent for 40 years. 4 decades of partnership, of sacrifice, of building a life together. During that time, Mrs. Coleman managed the household, raised 3 children, supported her husband's career at considerable personal cost to her own ambitions and well-being. And he painted a picture. Linda as the devoted wife, me as the distant provider, present but absent, working but never there. A marriage that had run its natural course with no animosity, simply 2 people growing apart, and were seeking standard asset division, he said. The marital home, 50% of retirement benefits, an equitable distribution of joint accounts. Mrs. Coleman has been more than fair, more than patient. She simply wants to move forward with dignity. He sat down. Linda's face was serene, almost sympathetic, like she was sorry it had come to this. Then Emily walked in. She'd been waiting in the hallway, like we'd planned. The door opened, and my youngest daughter stepped into that conference room, and Linda's face changed. Just for a second, a flicker of something, surprise, maybe fear, before the mask came back. Ashley's tablet nearly slipped from her hands. Derek looked at the ceiling. Emily sat down next to me. Didn't say anything, just set her folder on the table and looked at her mother. Ms. Patterson, Foster said, standing up, if I may present our counterposition with evidence. Foster was good, better than I'd expected. He laid it out chronologically, piece by piece, document by document. April 15th, the day I told Linda I was retiring, the day everything started. April 18th, first withdrawal from our joint account, $5,000, moved to an account with only Linda's name. Foster showed the bank statements, showed Margaret's affidavit about the forged signature, May through October, systematic theft, $47,000. Every withdrawal corresponding with my work schedule, every signature a forgery. Mrs. Coleman didn't just take money, Foster said. She stole it, using forged documents. That's not asset division, that's fraud. Morrison was shuffling papers, whispering with Linda. Her face was still composed, but her hands were clenched on the table. Then Foster showed the beneficiary change forms, the attempts to redirect my pension, all dated before the retirement party, all signed with my name in handwriting that wasn't mine. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, Foster said. This was planned, orchestrated, executed with precision over 6 months. Diane's testimony came next. Her statement about Linda's first husband, the pattern. The same lawyer Morrison had represented Linda then, too. This isn't Mrs. Coleman's first time taking a marriage apart for profit. Foster said. It's her second, possibly not her last. Linda's lawyer was objecting now, but his voice had lost that confident edge. Then Carol stood up, clicked her pen once. Let's talk about the children's involvement, she said. She laid out Ashley's hotel receipt. The Holiday Inn, Indianapolis, April 16th. Flight records showing Ashley had flown in from Ohio, credit card statements, dinner at Morton's Steakhouse. 3 people, $347. Mrs. Brennan, Carol said, looking at Ashley. You were at that meeting, weren't you, with your mother and Mr. Morrison, planning the divorce 6 months before it happened. Ashley's face had gone pale. I was visiting my mother. It was her birthday weekend. Your mother's birthday is September 3rd, Carol said. Try again. Silence in that room, just the radiator clanking and someone's pen tapping on the table. The retirement party was your idea, wasn't it? Carol continued. You coordinated it, chose the venue, arranged the catering, made sure there were plenty of witnesses for maximum humiliation. I wanted to help my mother. Help her rob your father, Carol said. You weren't caught in the middle, Mrs. Brennan. You were the architect. Ashley looked at Linda, desperate, pleading for help. Linda wouldn't look at her. Derek stood up, chair scraping loud against the floor. I can't. I have to. He walked out, just left. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Consequences. Visible, real. The mediator looked at Linda's lawyer. Morrison, do you dispute these documents? Morrison was whispering urgently with Linda. She was shaking her head. Not denying, just shaking her head like this wasn't supposed to happen. We have one more piece of testimony, Foster said. Ms. Coleman, would you like to speak? Emily stood up, pulled out that 5-year-old letter. The paper was worn from being carried across the country, read and reread. She didn't look at Linda, looked at me instead. Then she read it aloud, every word, her voice shaking at first, then getting stronger. The warnings about Linda's manipulation, the love for her father, the plea for connection that never came because Linda had intercepted it, made sure it never reached me. For 5 years, Emily said, I thought my father hated me, thought I'd abandoned him, and he couldn't forgive me. Because my mother wrote emails, pretending to be him, because she needed me gone, needed me isolated, so I couldn't interfere with her plans. And she pulled out the printed emails, the fake responses, the logs showing they were sent from the house when I was at work. She didn't just steal his money, Emily said. And now she was looking at Linda. She stole 5 years of his relationship with me. She made me think he rejected me. She made him think I forgot about him. And she did it all to make sure nobody would stop her from taking everything. Emily's voice broke on the last word, but she kept going. When did we become the kind of people who clap at cruelty? She asked, looking at Ashley now. At the empty chair where Derek had been. When did we decide it was okay to destroy someone just because we could? Nobody answered. The mediator turned to Linda. Mrs. Coleman, did you forge your husband's signatures on these bank documents? Silence. Did you intercept your daughter's correspondence? Linda's mouth opened, closed. Her lawyer was whispering, but she wasn't listening. I was protecting my family, she said finally, voice quiet, defensive. By lying to everyone in it? Carol asked. Linda had no answer for that. Morrison asked for a recess. 15 minutes, that turned into 30. When they came back, the confidence was gone. It was damage control now. Negotiation. Settlement terms by 4 o'clock. Ray keeps the house. Full pension, undisputed. All stolen funds returned with interest. Linda gets 15% of marital assets, a fraction of what she demanded. No alimony. She pays her own legal fees. Criminal fraud charges held in reserve, contingent on her compliance, papers signed by 5. Linda left without looking at anyone. Just walked out, Morrison trailing behind with his expensive briefcase, already calculating how to spin this loss. Ashley followed. She was crying now. Real tears. For herself, not for what she'd done. Derek was already gone. The parking lot was cold. Gray sky, threatening snow. Emily and I walked out with Carol, and the air felt too thin, like I couldn't quite catch my breath. You won, Carol said. Legally, financially, morally. You won, Ray. I looked back at the building, at the window where that conference room was. Linda's car was pulling out of the lot. Doesn't feel like winning, I said. Emily took my arm. That's because you're not mean, Dad. Winning doesn't feel like victory when you have to destroy your family to get it. It feels like relief. Is that what this is? Relief? Give it time, she said. Carol lit a parliament. Papers finalize in 30 days. Then you're free. Free. I've been married 40 years, raised 3 kids, built a life that was supposed to mean something, and now I was free. Emily leaned against me. Let's go home. Where's home? Hank's, she said. For now. Then we figure out the rest. We got in my truck. Emily rode with me. Carol took her own car and drove back through town, past the factory that didn't need me anymore. Past the church, where I still couldn't quite bring myself to go. Past all the familiar streets that felt different now, like I was seeing them through new eyes. At a stoplight, Emily said, "Dad, I'm proud of you." For what? For fighting, for not giving up, for believing me when I came home. The light turned green. I drove through it. "I didn't do anything special," I said. "Yes, you did. You survived. You're still here. Still able to feel things. Still able to love people who love you back." She looked out the window. "That's more than winning, Dad. That's everything." Maybe she was right. Maybe surviving was enough. Maybe that's all any of us could do. Keep showing up, keep breathing, keep trying even when everything felt broken. The factory whistle blew. 3 o'clock shift change. I heard it, acknowledged it, let it fade. Then I drove us home. Early March, I signed the final papers in Foster's office. House deed transferred back to my name. Pension restored, bank accounts with my stolen money returned, plus interest for the time Linda had it. Foster slid the house keys across his desk. New locks. I'd paid for them myself. "Congratulations," he said. "You got everything you asked for." I looked at those keys. Brass, shiny, cold to the touch, should have felt like victory, felt like holding metal. The house was empty when I walked in. Linda had cleared out fast, took her clothes, her books, the decorations she'd bought over 40 years, left the furniture, left the kitchen table, where we'd eaten breakfast 10,000 times, left the couch where the kids used to watch cartoons. I walked through each room, living room, kitchen, the bedroom. All of it familiar but different, like a museum of someone else's life. The back deck was still solid. I'd built those boards myself, replaced them when they rotted, put my weight on the railing. Held firm. I sat down on the deck steps. March sun, weak but present. Not warm enough yet, but getting there. A robin landed in the yard, first one I'd seen. Emily had texted me from Oregon 2 days ago. Picture of a robin in Portland. "Spring's coming, Dad." I texted back, "Already here." My phone buzzed. Ashley. "Dad, can we talk?" Another buzz. Derek. "We should get coffee." I read both messages. Didn't respond. Not anger. Not forgiveness. Just space. Maybe someday we'd talk. Maybe we wouldn't. That was my choice now. I put the phone away. Hank showed up at noon with his truck, scout riding shotgun. "You ready?" he asked. We loaded my stuff from his spare room. Didn't take long. 4 months of living there. And it still fit in boxes. Clothes. Books. The photo album I'd found with Emily's graduation picture. "You know you can come back anytime," Hank said, loading the last box. "I know. I'm 3 houses down. Coffee's always on." We stood there in his driveway, and I didn't know how to say what needed saying. How do you thank someone for saving your life without making it sound dramatic? "Hank, don't," he said. "You'd do the same." "I would," he nodded. That was enough. That's how men are. You don't say the big things out loud. You just know. Scout jumped down from the truck, limped over to me. I scratched his ears one last time. "You take care of him," I told Hank. "He's tougher than he looks, like somebody else I know." First night back in my own bed felt strange. Too quiet. No Hanks snoring through the wall. No Scout wheezing in the corner. Just silence that was mine. I lay there listening to the house settle. The furnace kicking on. The wind outside. Normal sounds. Home sounds. It took me 3 hours to fall asleep, but I did. Next morning, I made coffee. Started fixing things that needed fixing. Porch railing had been loose for years. Linda used to nag about it. I fixed it. Took an hour, but I got it tight and solid. Guest room needed painting. Emily was coming back in June. Said she wanted to spend the summer, work remote from here. She'd need a proper room. I bought paint at the hardware store, light blue. Started rolling it on that afternoon. Tuesday, I planted tomatoes in the backyard. Linda had hated gardening, said it was too much work. I planted 6 plants, staked them, watered them. Small act of making this place mine again. Every repair, every plant, every decision. Mine, not ours, mine. That should have felt lonely, mostly felt like breathing. Sunday morning, I went to church. First time since the divorce papers. Walked in, and heads turned. But different now. The story had gotten around. Small towns are like that. Ray Coleman fought back. Won. Did it with dignity. Pastor Jim shook my hand at the door. "Good to see you, Ray." "Good to be seen," what I said. I sat in my usual pew, 3rd row back, driver's side. Mrs. Chen smiled at me from across the aisle. The Hendersons nodded. People who'd been at that retirement party, people who'd seen me humiliated. They saw me now, too. Still standing, still here. That mattered more than I'd expected. Tuesday breakfast at the diner became routine again. Cindy brought me coffee without asking. "Usual?" she said. "Yeah, but make it strong." She grinned. "Stronger than Hank's?" "Nothing's stronger than Hank's." Small town banter. Normal, comfortable, like I'd never left. Thursday at the grocery store, I ran into Margaret from the bank. She was in the produce section, squeezing avocados. "Ray," she said. Brief nod, knowing smile. "Miguel's playing Nashville next month. Bluebird Cafe. You interested?" "Send me the details." "I will." She put an avocado in her cart. "You look good, Ray. Better." "Getting there," I said. And I was. Week later, Derek showed up at my door. Unannounced, 11 in the morning on a Saturday. He looked terrible. Hadn't shaved, dark circles under his eyes. "Dad," he said, I need to." I stood in the doorway, my house. "Derek, I'm not ready yet." His face crumpled. "I understand. I just thought, maybe someday," I said. "Not today." He nodded. Turned to go, got halfway down the driveway and stopped. "I'm sorry," he said. Didn't turn around. Just set it to the air. I watched him drive away in that leased BMW, closed the door, not slammed, just closed. Boundaries, not cruelty. Self-protection, that was growth maybe. Learning when to let people back in and when to keep them out. Friday afternoon, I was on the porch fixing that railing when I heard Hank's voice. "You busy?" I looked up. Hank and Scout at the bottom of my steps. "Nope." "Porch?" "Porch." We sat in the 2 chairs I'd dragged out from the garage. Needed new cushions, but they'd do. Hank had brought coffee in travel mugs. Still terrible. Still better than nothing. We didn't talk for a while. Just sat there while the temperature climbed and the world went on around us. "Ray," Hank said finally. "Yeah?" "You did good." I looked at him. "I survived." "That's what I said." "You did good." Maybe he was right. Maybe surviving was the victory. Not winning everything. Not getting revenge. Just still being here. Still able to sit on a porch with a friend and drink bad coffee and watch the world keep turning. The factory whistle blew. 3 o'clock shift change. I heard it, acknowledged it, felt nothing. Just a sound. Just time passing. "You miss it?" Hank asked. "The factory? No." I sipped the coffee. "The routine. Maybe. Knowing what I was doing." "You know what you're doing now?" I thought about that. About the house that was mine again. About Emily coming in June. About the tomatoes in the backyard. And the porch railing I just fixed. And the guest room I was painting. "Not really," I said. "But I'm doing it anyway." Hank smiled. "That's all most of us got." April came gentle. 58 degrees on the thermometer. The day Hank knocked on my door with pot roast and an invitation. Oh. Couldn't refuse. We ended up on my porch again. Seemed like we spent half our lives there now. 2 old men in rocking chairs with terrible coffee and nowhere to be. Scout lay at our feet, dreaming whatever old dogs dream. His paws twitched. Chasing something in his sleep, probably. Or running from it. "Fence between our yards is sagging," Hank said. Wasn't, really. But that's how men help. Make up work so it doesn't feel like charity. "We'll get to it," I said. Thinking about getting a dog, I added. Scout was 14. Wouldn't be around forever. The thought of Hank losing him made me hurt. "Keep you company when Scout's gone." Hank nodded. Didn't say what we both knew. That Scout was borrowed time. That every day with him was a gift. "Shelter's got a 3-legged beagle. Nobody wants him." "Perfect," I said, because he was. The broken ones always are. "Colts might be worth a damn this year," Hank said, changing the subject the way men do when feelings get too close. "Reckon we'll find out." We weren't talking about football. We were talking about hope. Tentative, careful, the kind you don't trust but can't quite let go of either. A cardinal landed in the oak tree, bright red against spring green. I'd fed birds all winter, kept that feeder full even when everything else felt empty. Those birds survived. So did I. "Hank," I said, "thanks." "For what?" I gestured vaguely. "Everything. Nothing specific. The spare room, the terrible coffee, the being there when there was nowhere else to go. You do the same," he said. "I would." More silence. Comfortable. The kind that doesn't need filling. My phone buzzed. "Emily from Oregon." "Miss you, Dad? June's the plan, right?" I typed back, "June. I'll have your room ready." Hank stood, Scout following, reluctant on stiff legs. "Pot roast tonight. 6 o'clock. Don't bring anything." "I'll bring beer." "Bring yourself," he said. "Beer's optional." And they shuffled home. 3 houses down, familiar path worn in the grass between our yards. I stayed on the porch, rocked slow, finished the cold coffee because wasting it felt wrong. I thought about 40 years. Worked every day, raised 3 kids, built things that mattered, or tried to. I thought about the last 5 months. Lost things, found things, learned things about who I was when everything got stripped away. It didn't balance out neat. The loss still ached. The victory tasted complicated, like coffee that was too strong and not sweet enough, but got you through the morning anyway. But I was here, On my porch. In my house, my choice: who came in, who stayed out, who got invited back. Ray Coleman, 63 years old, divorced, battle-scarred. Kids who might come back someday, might not. Also, homeowner, father to Emily, friend to Hank, man who fed birds through winter, who fixed fences, who showed up. The factory whistle blew. 6 o'clock shift change. I listened until it faded into the evening. Then I stood, went inside, turned on the porch light. Not for anyone specific, just leaving it on because it was mine to leave on. Inside, the house smelled like fresh paint and possibility. Tomorrow I'd work on the guest room, maybe fix the screen door that stuck, maybe call about that 3-legged beagle. Small things, normal things, the kind of things that make a life when you add them up over time. I'd spent 40 years thinking worth was about providing, about being useful, about the paycheck and the overtime and the showing up no matter what. Turned out worth was simpler than that. Worth was still being here when everything tried to erase you. Worth was letting people help you and helping them back. Worth was feeding birds in winter and fixing railings nobody else cared about and drinking terrible coffee with a friend who saw you at your worst and stuck around anyway. The phone buzzed again. Hank, you coming or do I eat this whole roast myself? I smiled, grabbed my keys, locked the door behind me, my door, my lock, my choice, and walked 3 houses down to where the porch light was on and dinner was waiting, and an old man with an older dog was probably already setting out 2 plates because he knew I'd come. Life continues. Some days it's hard, some days it's simple, most days it's both at once, but it continues. And right now, on this April evening, with spring finally breaking through and a 3-legged beagle waiting at the shelter and my daughter coming home in June and pot roast getting cold 3 houses down, right now that was enough. More than enough. That was everything.